Another way that the question word who can play out is the challenge of, well, as the poster I saw a number of years ago says, when I do something right, no one notices. When I do something wrong, no one ever forgets. To be known by good or bad qualities, according to what people remember. It may have been 20 years ago, but if somebody made a particular mistake, there may be someone who will still hold it against them, who has never forgiven them and never forgotten the mistake that they made. So the answer to the question word who can be some mistake, some fault, some shortcoming. Who are you? Oh, you're the one who broke the expensive vase. You're the one who tripped on the sidewalk when we were moving and dropped the mirror. You're the one who was nasty to my dog because he was barking too much at your cat. Yeah, all sorts of different things. Rather than considering that maybe for whatever unpleasantness may have passed between us, there may be some positive qualities, some things to value that make it very worthwhile getting to know this person much deeper, that recommend creating a friendship instead of allowing an adversarial ignorance to remain between the two of you. When I was in graduate school getting a master's degree in theological studies, one of my complaints in virtually all of my classes there was that the discussions, both the students and professors there, I continued to find had a problem seeing beyond the categories. They would look out at the class and decide, well, this person's white, this person's black, this person's Asian. If the color of white is the color of a sheet of paper, I'm not particularly white. I suppose I might be a peach or a tan color. I don't really know. But as they were describing the category of white people, I didn't find much in common with what they were describing. It didn't reflect my upbringing, didn't reflect where I grew up, didn't reflect how I related to people. That was the category. My complaint to them frequently was that they were not able to see the individuals, to see that no one in the room was the embodiment of a category. And that's the way prejudices generally get started. One example of a particular race, group, creed, whatever, does something that somebody else doesn't like, and they look at that person and say, oh, you're Catholic, white, Protestant, Asian, whatever. That means everyone else is just like you. To which the individual would probably respond, uh-huh, right. I don't know that there's anything you can get all the white people to agree on. It doesn't answer who I am if somebody labels me white. From that point on, whenever people would have me fill out forms and it'd say, okay, so what is your race? I would check other and put American Euromut, because I'm a mixture of 3 or 4 different ethnicities from Europe. I don't know which ones of them. I mean, the white essentially was applied to, the other word for it is Caucasian, but Caucasian really only refers to people from the Caucasus Mountains. Didn't include any of my ancestors. Is there such a thing as group guilt? That's a whole nother discussion for another time, much too involved to get into here. In the same way, though, if I had been black, if I had been Native American, if I had been Asian, for someone to look at me and decide who I was based on a racial category that they superimposed on me would basically silence my voice and deny me any ability to say that I was different from their understanding of that category. And so there was no dialogue, and it was very frustrating to me that the school continually could not see beyond its categories, could not recognize individuals, could not recognize that 2 individuals within the same racial grouping could have a major disagreement and have major differences, and the only thing they may have in common was the pigmentation of their skin. Because of that, one could not accurately or legitimately, on the basis of that characteristic, say who they were. We simply didn't know. It was a projection. It was somebody else's definition of who, that had nothing to do with the objective truth of the person. All the different ways we can answer the question word who. And a lot of these we trip over as we're trying to create a better and better world. That, in my mind, in my understanding, if we are ever to create that more ideal world, it's going to have something to do with allowing everyone to be an individual. Instead of projecting onto them our suppositions about what their category into which we have placed them is like, we can simply ask them to self-define. Ask them to say, so what do you believe? And how do you live? And what is important to you? And what are your values? And rather than measuring somebody by their failures, what if we measured them by their accomplishments? Which could be good or bad. If a famous sports hero is accused of a crime, but we recognize this person because of his accomplishments, it could make us blind to his failure, because any person can have both accomplishments and failures, with times where we are exemplary and a model citizen, and times where we demonstrate reprehensible behavior. If we answer the question word who in terms of the accomplishment, it could serve to make us blind to addressing whatever wrongs may be committed at a later date. If we're going to be a healthy, functional society, we need to be sure that we're not running from truth and hiding behind past accomplishments, but that we're dealing with problems as they arise and dealing with behavior as it arises, rewarding good behavior, punishing negative behavior in a balanced, just, intelligent way, and not assuming that anyone could not be even in both categories at the same time. The person who has just committed some horrible crime could in the next moment be the one who demonstrates compassion to a child in a burning building. Anything's possible, especially with human beings.